Welcome to Violin Adventures number 195. That means we've got 4 episodes left before the grand 200th episode. But we're going to jump right into this week's work. We are working on the experimental violin and we get it set up with quite a surprise. Okay, to the work on our experimental violin. What I'm going to do now is cut off these pegs, cut down the bushing. Here's the inside of the peg box, and this is very hard to get these all cut out, so that's the next task. We got the peg box empty here. Now I need to carefully just cut down. These are protruding just a little bit, about 1 millimeter. I need to cut them all level, and then we'll put a patch on. I've got a nice thick piece of maple here, and I'm going to trace the shape. Okay, here I come with my hot hide glue, and I did a mock-up, a dry mock-up here for this patch that I'm putting on. And it looks like it's going to be good, so I'm going to take these clamps off and glue it now. Well, there you go. If you got the clamp, you might as well use it, right? So we're making kind of a piece of plywood here. I have a little bit of wood on the inside, especially in the weakest spot. And so we're going to let this dry for 24 hours. We got to shape the bass bar next. Well, when I tap it, it sounds like a piece of metal. And there might be a crack that's still rattling. But I'm going to go ahead and shape the bass bar, and then we'll see what it sounds like. And here, this sounds much better. So the next thing to do is seal it and put some cleats in. Okay, the top has a much better tone now. Sounds more like wood, but instead of the vibrations going up and down, they're going out. So we'll see how this turns out, but what I'm going to do next is put a sealer coat on here to protect mainly the bass bar. We've got our patch in on this side and on the inside, and now looking close at the other side, it's going to need another patch. It's just really minute little tiny cracks that are just starting. So I'm going to put another patch on that side, but in the meantime I've been looking at the top. I don't hear any buzzing. I think we'll go ahead and close up the violin. Everything else is good. I need to get a label in. We'll close it up and then we'll get the patch on the top. Well, here's the violin all clamped up. It's 39, let's just say 40 clamps all together on that violin at one time. Well, it's time to take the clamps, all these 40 clamps off of this violin. And yesterday, while it was drying, I got a bridge and a sound post ready. So today, we got to drill the peg holes. We'll have to drill the peg holes and fit the pegs, and maybe we'll get this set up today. We'll see. Okay, I'm gonna blend in this patch, and then I'll see you to drill the peg holes. Time to drill out the peg holes, so you can help me. Let's make sure it's straight across, not back and forward this way or up and down this way. Like, look in all directions before you cross the street. Okay, the holes are all drilled. So now it's time to fit the pegs. And it looks like the owner has supplied all that we need here. So we've got pegs and a tailpiece and tail gut. Nice. So on to setting up. First, we're going to fit the pegs. Well, here we go. We've had to make the pegs fit in the case. So I have these down out 13 millimeters, and now we're going to cut off the ends and lubricate the pegs. All right, our violin is all set up. So we're going to play it and see how it sounds. tone, I don't think, well, because the vibrations are going outward instead of up and down and engaging the whole instrument in vibrations, this violin would do well. More as a chamber violin, it's like you don't want to push it too much. You want to play sweetly on it and draw out its sweet tones. So it's almost like to be very careful with it or soft with it. So I can feel vibrations, but they're going in a different direction. So it does respond. It's responsive, so you can do quick notes on it. So I've taken the violin down and I'm going to go all around. There's areas all over this violin that have lost their varnish. It might have only had one coat, and so I'm going to go around and just give it a sealer coat and see what that does for it. So as soon as this dries, we'll just leave the top. That gives it a protective coat, and then I will darken the sides here so that they blend. So here we are, we're in the middle of doing some touch-up, and a very persistent knocker was at the door, and so I ran upstairs, and here it is, a violin coming all the way from Eugene, Oregon. Okay, that was very nicely packed. And here we have it, a beautiful violin that needs some attention. So we'll get into this instrument right off, and we've got all the accessories here. And what is special about this violin is the next person in line from San Francisco said that he would forego his place in the queue, and he wanted me to go ahead and let the one from Oregon. So we're going to let this violin go first. Well, this is the next day, and I put another coat of varnish on here. And now let's play it. I have to say, I have been pleasantly surprised that this violin actually sounds all right, and it is very responsive, and today it's even brighter. Is good. It's a good tone. It's very lively. It's responsive. So no complaints on there. It just feels different because you don't get that exciting vibration back as you play it, but it's responsive. So this violin turned out much better than I expected. did not expect any tone hardly to come out, and we've got good tone, and on top of that it's very responsive. So here it is. I think it's ready to go. It's ready to go home. So here's one last look at our special experimental violin. There it is. This is on the slab cut. And then here's our repair up here. We put maple in on both sides of the peg box, and I hope that will give it some good strength. Time for a story. Well, it's time for our weekly story, and we're reading out of Violins and Violinists by Franz Farga, and we're taking up where we left off. We were describing periods that Stradivari had in his making career and how the instruments changed. And now we're going to pick up here on page 44. The scrolls and sound holes of the Stradivaris of this period are masterly achievements in themselves, but it is the varnish which merits special praise. It is, in all probability, this varnish with its elasticity which has invested the latter period's Stradivaris with their inimitable radiant resonance. And then I'm skipping through here to the next page. There are said to be about 1,000 Stradivari instruments still in existence, among them many cellos, also admirable pieces of work. The specifications of the quintet for the Duke of York reveal that Stradivari built large as well as small cellos. In this field, too, he surpassed all his rivals. Unfortunately, some of his large cellos were ruined later on in a barbaric manner when their size was reduced, an unforgivable crime against art. Those of his original instruments which have survived enchant us with their full richness of tone as well as with their wonderful sweetness. The famous Belgian virtuoso Servius was the owner of the best among Stradivari's cellos. There are also a few Stradivari violas, which are of a large size and have a noble, manly tone. Many Stradivari instruments have had most remarkable adventures, about which more will be heard later on. But here we want to give some interesting notes from the diary of a Cremonese monk, Arisi, who was an intimate friend of Stradivari's. When King Philip of Spain passed through Cremona in 1702, Stradivari planned to offer to sell him a beautifully decorated quintet, but he was dissuaded from doing this. The quintet consisted of 2 violins, a viola, a tenor viol, and a cello. He had completed it in 1709 and kept it until his death in 1737. Then his son, Francesco, who died in 1742, inherited it. He left all the instruments in his possession to his brother. The latter sold the quintet and 2 more inlaid violins built by his father in 1687 and 1709 to a priest called Brambilla in 1775. The priest took the instruments to Madrid, where they were purchased by Don Carlos, later King Charles IV of Spain. But soon Stradivari's heirs were extremely sorry at having bartered away these works of art, which the master himself had been loath to part with. And then it goes on to describe how these instruments fell into the hands of a priest who had a passion for violin making. And he decided he was going to alter the tone of these instruments and maybe even change out the back and the belly. Thankfully, the players did not want that done, but he ended up eventually cutting down one of the cellos. And this is why when we have an instrument with a real label in there, we don't want to change it, because it is the master's work of art. We can always change the bridge, change the sound post, and change out the bass bar, because they always need a freshening up. A real violin maker doesn't touch another violin maker's work in the way of changing the graduations or the size or anything like that, because it is a work of art. Just like you wouldn't take a famous painter's painting and decide that you're going to improve on it. No, it's their work of art, so we leave them alone and we just change the bass bar, the bridge, the sound post, the pegs, all those things that are meant to be changed. Okay, we will take up on our story next week on page 48. The Hebrew Minute. Ki ani Hashem lo shaniti. For I am the Lord, or I am Hashem, I do not change. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. Freddie wants to chat.
Hi, I Freddie, and I went out and looked at the bees all by myself. I got a good look at them, so I'll show you right here. It looks like the bees are keeping their house all nice and clean. Well, don't forget, the deadline for all your pictures is August 18. I'm getting so excited. See you soon. Bye.
Well, here's an update on our beaver situation. It looks like the neighbor has been by, and with the rain and all, it's all washed away. Here it is in the afternoon. We just had a rain and the birds are singing. Let's go inside. Here we are inside, and on the first table we find, here's our special violin, the experimental violin that did surprise us with a very nice tone. The scroll is all finished, so we're going to let that dry and then send it home to its owner. And here's our next violin that will start on Monday, Lord willing. And we can see right away that this top was not finished. The graduations and the bass bar is right out of the top of the violin. So that will be a fun one to get into working order. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all of you who are commenting in the comment section. Thank you for your thumbs up, and thank you to all of you who are sending in videos and pictures for the 200th. Just a reminder, the deadline is August 18 for all those pictures and videos. And until next time, bye.